What's up, guys? Welcome back. George Morales coming at you. Hope you guys are doing well. If you're watching this video, chances are you're considering buying a home and you heard about this NAR settlement thing and how it's more expensive for home buyers to buy a home after August 17th, which there's some truth to that, but there's also some solutions, and there's also a way to be able to still put yourself in the best position to be able to go ahead and buy. So hopefully this video adds some value. I'm going to talk about 4 things you need to know that are going to put you in that best position as a home buyer, trying to navigate these new rules and new things that are going to make the real estate industry and the home buying process a little bit more interesting, I think, in terms of negotiation. And I think it can actually empower you as a home buyer as well, to be able to either get a better deal on a property, whether it's from a purchase price standpoint, credits from sellers, or from your agent if you can negotiate with them as well. So before we get started, just a little bit of background, and I won't go fully into it, but just a general quick 2-minute explanation as to why the heck this is happening and what's going on and what's changing and what happened with this NAR settlement, and why these new rules are being put out there. So sellers essentially felt that realtors were inflating their commissions whenever they were looking to sell a property. There was a lack of transparency. They felt that they didn't really have enough of a say, like in terms of the commission that they were paying when they were selling their home. So they got together, they sued someone, and now rules are changing. Traditionally, realtors charge anywhere from 5 to 6% to sell someone's home, and part of that is for their service, obviously. The other part would go to the agent representing the buyer in that transaction, kind of like a finder's fee, if you will. Well, what happened is that the realtor that represents a buyer, typically they're negotiating, in which they should, right? That's what a realtor does, and that's the beauty about having representation, is that you as a home buyer, especially if you're a first-time home buyer or a seller, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you want to have a professional that's backing you up, almost like a lawyer, and making sure that you're getting the best possible deal that you could potentially get as a buyer or a seller. Well, realtors that are representing buyers are trying to get the best deals for buyers, right? So they're negotiating on their client's behalf. They're, that can consist of a lower purchase price, of a credit from the seller for the buyer. It can consist of repairs to be taken care of by the seller before the buyer actually buys a property. Well, sellers didn't like that, right? They looked at it and they said, hey, I don't like that I have to pay a realtor to negotiate against me to represent their buyer, right? And so they got together, there's this lawsuit that happened, and now what that means is that realtors are no longer allowed to advertise a commission being paid to buyers on the MLS, which is the service that realtors use to advertise properties for sale and multiple listing services. So we'll go into 4 things that you need to know to get you in the best position possible to buy if you're considering buying after August 17th, which is coming up. Rule number 1 is that commissions have always been negotiable. This has always been a thing. I think this whole lawsuit thing happened because, again, of the lack of transparency, and because there's a customary way to kind of do things, and it kind of felt like they were obligated to go ahead and do that. But commissions have always been negotiable. It's never been a requirement for a seller to offer to pay for a buyer's agent commission. Even before August 17th, you can choose to pay whatever you want if you're selling a home, or nothing at all if you don't want to pay anything to the buyer's agent. Even the commission for the agent selling your home, if you are looking to sell your home and you're interviewing a few realtors, agents are used to charging anywhere from 5 to 6% to sell your home, but that is completely negotiable. So you could tell a realtor that's selling your home that you're only willing to pay them 1%, and if they're willing to accept that, then that's what it is, right? So it's always been negotiable. It's never been a fixed percentage. It's been customary, and I think that's because many agents charge a similar percentage. And that's why sellers, kind of felt like they were being put in a position where they had to offer it, but it's never been a requirement. Rule number 2, or thing number 2 that you should know, is that starting August 17th, listing agents will no longer be allowed to advertise a commission on the MLS, which is a system that, like I just said, which is a system that realtors use to publish properties coming on the market. Not advertising it doesn't necessarily mean the seller isn't offering a commission to the buyer's agent. It just cannot be published or advertised on the multiple listing services website. So you won't see it on realtor.com. You shouldn't see it on Zillow whenever you are looking at a property. So your realtor that's representing you is probably going to have to call the listing agent to figure out if there is a commission being offered offered or not, you will probably after August 17th already have a commission agreement in place with your buyer's agent, which we'll talk about. But these commissions cannot be advertised on the MLS anymore after August 17th. Number 3 is buyers will need to have a buyer's representation and broker compensation agreement signed with your realtor that's representing you. So this agreement has existed. I think there's a lot of changes actually that came about for this agreement, and a lot of things that have changed, but it's been around. And a realtor could previously say, hey, we need to have an agreement as to me representing you exclusively or not exclusively. But now, in order to look at a property, you're supposed to have a buyer's agent and broker compensation agreement in place. And this is essentially an agreement that spells out your deal with your realtor and what you agree on, such as, how long they're going to represent you for, whether it's an exclusive agreement or not, an exclusive representation or not. So are they going to be your only realtor, or do you have an option to, work with other realtors as well? What areas, what counties, what cities they're going to be representing you in, what type of properties, and more importantly, how much that agent is going to be compensated if they help you purchase a home, right? And this can range from anywhere. Again, the standard is 2.5%, but now with this agreement having to be a requirement before you actually look at homes with a realtor and you actually start the home buying journey, it's going to open up some dialogue. It's going to open up a conversation, and there's going to be more transparency around it, I think, which means that, yeah, the standard commission might be 2.5%, but now that might be open to maybe 2%, 1.5%, depending on what you can negotiate, right? And then the fourth and last thing that you need to know if you want to buy a house after August 17th is your options to pay for your agent's commission. Option number 1 is if you have the means for it, then you can just pay for it out of pocket, right? If you've saved up enough of a down payment, enough of money for a closing cost, and you saved up 2.5% or whatever your agent's going to go ahead and charge you to represent you, then great, you can pay for it out of pocket. That's option number 1. Option 2 is that you can have your realtor negotiate that with the seller on your behalf without it impacting your offer price, right? So if you say, hey, I've worked years to save 3% down, 5% down, 20% down, plus my closing costs, man, I don't want to save another 2.5%, or I don't have a way to go ahead and save another 2.5% by the time that I want to buy a home, your realtor can negotiate that from the seller. And if the sellers want to go ahead and pay for that, if their seller's already offering a commission, then great. If they're not offering a commission, then your realtor can negotiate that on your behalf. And the third option is if the seller isn't willing to go ahead and pay a commission or offer a commission, you can increase the purchase price to offset the request for them to pay for your buyer's agent commission. And essentially what you're doing here is you're rolling it into the financing, because now the purchase price is higher, which means your loan amount is going to be higher. So you're taking that 2.5% buyer's agent commission and you're rolling it into your loan. And if it doesn't impact your monthly payments in a crazy way to where you don't feel comfortable, then that's an option that is worth considering if the seller isn't willing or your agent isn't willing to or able to go ahead and negotiate that, and you don't have the means to go ahead and pay for it out of pocket. So there you have it. 4 things you need to know if you're considering buying a home after August 17th. I hope this was helpful for you guys. As a reminder, I'm a licensed loan officer, licensed in the state of California, and I love working with first-time home buyers who are ready to be homeowners but don't think they have enough saved. So if you found this helpful, share this with someone that's looking to purchase their first home in the next year or so, and I'll see you guys around. Peace.